Episode 2: The Prison of the Deep. Heaven had fractured. In the aftermath of the ultimate cosmic rebellion, Lucifer, the highest of all angels, was stripped of his glory and cast into the void. He crashed into a ruined, formless world, a cosmic wasteland wrapped in a crushing pitch-black ocean. The ancient texts call it the deep. For an immortal being of pure fire and music, this cold, silent void was the ultimate prison. Alone in the freezing dark, his flawless armor shattered and his light extinguished, the adversary sat in the ruins of his defeat. He believed the universe would simply leave him to rule over this dead, watery grave. A king of the ashes. But the Creator is a master of paradox. He does not abandon the broken pieces of the cosmos, he rebuilds them. As Lucifer brooded in the shadows, a frequency he knew all too well began to vibrate through the dead water. The Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the deep. The silence of the void was suddenly broken by a voice that carried the weight of 1 billion suns. Let there be light. It was not a gentle sunrise. It was a violent, unstoppable explosion of divine radiation. The absolute darkness was instantly shattered. Chapter 1: The Terraforming. What followed was not simple creation. It was aggressive terraforming, a symphony of hyper-violence and absolute mathematical precision. Tectonic plates screamed as massive continents were pulled from the crushing depths. Atmospheres ignited, filtering the deadly cosmic rays into a breathable canopy. From the safety of the heavens, the remaining angelic hosts watched in awe. The ancient records say the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. They witnessed the great architect carve order out of chaos. But down below, hiding in the newly cast shadows of massive mountains, Lucifer watched with growing horror. Every newborn ocean, every ignited star, every green forest that erupted from the rocks was a personal insult. God was not just cleaning up a ruined planet. He was building a stage, a hyper-advanced biosphere teeming with biological life. But for whom? The angels did not need oxygen or gravity. Who was this intricate, fragile world designed for? The answer would be the ultimate humiliation for the fallen prince. Chapter 2: The Mud and the Breath. To replace the highest angel, God did not create a new being of fire and crystal. In a masterful display of absolute sovereignty, he bypassed the heavenly hierarchies entirely. He went to the very bottom of physical existence. He took the dust of the ground, carbon, minerals, the dead ashes of stars. Imagine the shock of the cosmic watchers. The Creator's hands, woven from pure, blinding will, gathered the mud. He began to shape a vessel, not a spirit, but a biological machine of terrifying complexity. Flesh, blood, and bone. But flesh alone is dead. It is just organized dirt. Then the Creator leaned close to this lifeless sculpture, and he exhaled. He breathed the breath of life directly into the lungs of the dust. The clay ignited. The man opened his eyes. He was named Adam, but he was not a primitive beast. Ancient traditions tell us that before the fall, Adam did not walk in nakedness as we understand it. He was clothed in a garment of pure, shimmering light, a reflection of the glory he was infused with. He was the bridge between the material and the spiritual, a creature of dirt, carrying the very fire of the divine. God looked at the dust and crowned it with glory. He made him a king. Chapter 3: The Architecture of Eden. To house his new king, God planted a sanctuary, Eden. This was not a simple garden. It was a dimensional nexus, a temple where heaven perfectly overlapped with earth. 4 crystalline rivers flowed from its center, watering a biome of impossible beauty. And right in the center of this sacred architecture stood 2 colossal pillars of reality. The tree of life, radiating pure, sustaining energy, and beside it, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It is the greatest question of human history. Why would a perfect God place a dangerous, lethal tree right in the middle of paradise? Because God did not want a biological robot. He did not want a slave, he wanted a son. And for a relationship to be real, love must be a choice. The tree of knowledge was not a trap, it was the anchor of free will. To have the capacity to choose God, Adam had to have the sovereign right to reject him. The choice was simple: trust the Creator's definition of good and evil, or decide for yourself. Chapter 4: The Split Soul. Adam walked among the massive beasts of the earth, naming them, categorizing the code of creation. He had authority, he had intellect, but he had no equal. He was the only one of his kind. The Creator said, "It is not good that the man should be alone." In the first surgical act in history, a deep, heavy sleep fell upon Adam. The Creator reached into the man's side, taking a rib, a piece of his very core, his DNA, his spiritual essence. From this living architecture, God did not just make a companion, he made a masterpiece. Eve. When Adam woke and saw her, the silence of Eden was broken by the first poetry ever spoken. She was not made from his head to rule him, nor from his feet to be crushed by him. She was taken from his side to stand equal. Together they were the complete image of the divine. The crown of creation was finished. God gave them absolute dominion over the earth. They were the new rulers of the material universe. Chapter 5: The Watcher in the Dark. Beyond the borders of the glowing garden, in the cold shadows of the untamed earth, the adversary watched. Lucifer stared at the man and the woman. He looked at their garments of light. He saw the authority they held, the very authority he had lost. The humiliation was absolute. He, the anointed cherub, the masterpiece of heaven, had been replaced by mud, by breathing, bleeding dirt.
He gives the universe to monkeys. I was the morning star, and they are just dust.
He knew he could not defeat Michael's armies. He knew he could not strike the throne of God. But as he watched Eve walk near the center of the garden, his brilliant, corrupted mind formulated the darkest strategy in eternity. He could not destroy God, but he could destroy God's image. He could make the dust rebel. He could make the Creator's new children willingly hand their crown over to him. The fallen prince did not draw a flaming sword. He shed his angelic form. He embraced the shadows, and he began to slither toward the tree. The trap was set.